Bookkeeping systems in South Carolina seem to be getting more expensive and more expensive. Over at DSS, we have a bookkeeping system for child support enforcement. It's supposed to comply with the federal guidelines. They've been struggling with it for over 9 years, more than one governor, and yet they have not come up with a system that operates and can comply with the federal guidelines. The taxpayers have been hit with a total of bills for that system and fines of almost $120 million. But if you think that's a lot, wait till I tell you about Sceis, this elaborate space-age bookkeeping system that popped up in the budget last year when I saw an attempt was being made to give the director of the Budget and Control Board the authority to move monies at her discretion out of accounts to pay for Sceis, which is this fancy bookkeeping system. Well, when I brought the question to the floor, I was told that the bookkeeping system cost around $50 to $60 million. That was in May of last year. Guess what? A leading newspaper in South Carolina began inquiring about it, and they were told it cost $84.8 million. Well, the fall came and I wanted to know where this money came from to pay for this bookkeeping system, so I sent questions over to the Budget and Control Board and to the folks in charge of Sceis to find out where the money came from and how much was actually spent. It took them 8 weeks with this magnificent bookkeeping system to be able to answer the question. And guess what? The price tag went up to over $140 million that you, the taxpayers, have forked out for this system. Then on top of that, I get documents that indicate that consultants have been paid sums of money from $100,000 to over $300,000 for 9 months worth of work on this system. Now we find out with additional documents that it's going to take over $15 million a year from you, the taxpayer, to fund this fancy bookkeeping system, which apparently took 8 weeks for us to get an answer to. Couple that with one of the agencies that has the bookkeeping system ran a $222 million deficit in a fiscal year. So I want to know why the system costs so much. I want to know why we have to pay these consultants all of this money. I want to know what the benefit return to the taxpayers is going to be on the system. And if this system is so good that it should have this kind of money spent on it, why isn't it a line item in the budget? One of the things we've done in the Department of Administration reform bill that we have going through is to require that Sceis now have a line item so we can see how much was spent on it. When we got to digging into where they took the money from, they used what we call flexibility. And flexibility are provisos put in the budget. They're also in a Sceis law that was passed years ago that gives the director of an agency the power, regardless of where the General Assembly has appropriated the money, to go behind the General Assembly and reach in and take that money out of that account to pay for Sceis. So what happened is school operating funds in education, they got under the operating appropriation for the Department of Education, they got moved to pay for the bookkeeping system. Various other agencies, monies that we appropriated even during the years that we were having across-the-board cuts, they were scooping money out of accounts to pay for the fancy bookkeeping system. Which brings me to the other point about this, flexibility. It's a code word used up here in this so-called talk of restructuring. But what flexibility really does is it gives the head of these agencies the power, without your elected representatives having any say, to move money that has been appropriated for one thing into another account to pay for another bill. The result is a budget is a mere suggestion. It's not a roadmap. And the result is they can shift money around. And when you have money shifting around in a shell game, you don't have accountability and you don't have transparency. So I'm insisting upon transparency, which is you get the money appropriated to account, that's what you spend it on. And this thing of allowing them to shift money all over the place makes a mockery out of a budget process where you debate how much money is going for employee salaries or how much is going for supplies or travel, and then after the General Assembly leaves under flexibility, bureaucrats can turn around and shift the money for whatever expenses they want. Money got shifted into Sceis, it can get shifted other places. So we're going to be about these reforms and about spotlighting these issues that we think tend to make government grow, and the public doesn't even realize it's happening until after it occurs. And they always say, well, you can hold somebody accountable, but when your money's gone, it's gone. I want to make sure that we know on the front end before the money's gone.